When you're building a website using WordPress, it's important to understand how all the components are working, in particular the theme files. Those are the ones that you're going to be working with the most because that's where you actually create the look of the site, the functionality, and so forth. Plugins are there as well that you're going to add on some functionality. You won't be actually working with the files themselves, but I've put them over here because you'll see how they work in the process. The other important component, of course, is the WordPress core files. They're going to do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. These are the files you download from WordPress.org and you upload to the server and so forth. And then there's the database that you've created where WordPress is going to store the content for the site. So those are the three major components we're dealing with here, and let's see how they interact. Let's imagine, first of all, we're going to a page that is going to create a category list of all the posts for a particular category. In that URL will be some instructions for WordPress. Even if you've got permalinks turned on, which will create a nicer looking URL for search engines and visitors to see, behind the scenes there are going to be instructions. In this case, it's going to say to WordPress, look for category number 6, let's say. So WordPress then goes over to the theme template files and says, do you have a category 6 file? If you don't, do you have this file? If you don't, do you have this file? That's called the template hierarchy. We'll take a look at that in more detail in another video. Then, once it gets to the proper file that it needs, that theme template then sends a whole set of instructions over to WordPress and says, I need the following things. In this particular case, a query for sure. There may be lots of other things it needs, but it needs a query of all the posts in a particular category. So WordPress says, oh, okay, I'll go and process that over in the database and get all the information you need. So then it takes the information from the database, passes it back over to the theme, as well as to some plugins if that's involved in this. Then each of the theme template files that's involved, because there are several as we'll see, they process the particular information they get from the database, and then they create the HTML, they put in the style sheeting for their section of it. Then the theme sends all of that information, bits and pieces, back to WordPress, where WordPress assembles it, puts it into a single HTML page, and then sends it to the browser, and you get your web page. So that's where themes fit in, and you can see they're heavily involved in the process. This is not just about the look of the site, and that's where you can better understand how themes fit into the process and why we need to take apart the theme and look at each of those template files.